everybody, to the Superhumanistic podcast, where we talk about all things health, wellness, and longevity. Thank you for joining us today. We are your hosts. I'm David.
I'm Jessica.
And make sure that you hit that follow and subscribe button on this podcast so you never miss another episode. We put out one episode a week on Saturdays. Also, don't forget to share this podcast with someone that you love that is also on a health and wellness journey so they can live a longer, healthier, happier life. Last week, we talked about those little micro habits, those little tweaks to your everyday habits that can actually add years to your life. So if you want to learn more about how you can change your life and just those really tiny steps, really tiny tweaks and those micro habits, go back and listen to last week's episode. This week, we are going to be talking about the longevity blueprint. So we're going to talk about what the world's oldest people do every single day. And this one could really change how you look at health forever. So what if I told you that the people who live the longest don't count macros, they're not stacking those supplements, they're not chasing the newest health trend that's out there on TikTok or anything like that. They're living past 100. And it's not really related to anything more than kind of just really living a human life. So we're going to talk about those superhumanistic traits that you can start incorporating into your life and make sure that you can try to push past that 100 mark and milestone. So we're going to start off with something called the blue zones, which we've talked about before a few times on the podcast. And those are really just those regions of the world where people live significantly longer than average, essentially, or other parts of the world. So those regions are Okinawa, Japan. So that's one area where people tend to live longer. Also Sardinia, Icaria, I think that's how you say that, Icaria, Loma Linda, California, and Costa Rica, specifically the Nicoya Peninsula is where that's located.
Yeah, so these are the areas that usually have the high numbers of centenarians living in that area. So centenarians meaning people that are 100 and beyond, and they have lower rates of chronic disease.
Yeah, as we touched on earlier, they're not really following those trends or anything like that. They're not taking 5 a.m. cold plunges or stacking a bunch of supplements, or they're really just living differently every day.
Yeah, and we first actually were introduced to this blue zone concept through watching a series on Netflix called The Blue Zones. So if you are interested or more interested, I would definitely recommend checking that out as well. But the people living in these areas tend to move naturally. So a lot of these areas have natural hills and inclines. So they're not going to the gym and doing CrossFit. There's no extreme routines at the gym. It's just literally walking around the areas that they live. They garden, they carry things. So they're walking to the supermarket and then carrying their groceries and food home. So they're actually lifting natural things. So where they're living, their environment actually requires them to have that movement.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, gardening is one great way to move naturally, but you can also produce some plants, and that's what they mostly eat in these regions. A lot of beans, a lot of lentils, a lot of seasonal vegetables, whole foods, and they do eat meats, but mostly in smaller amounts.
Yeah. And typically fish and yes, definitely smaller amounts of meats. They also have that strong social ties, so they literally, when we say community, it's a community. They are talking to each other. They're working out together. They're going for walks together. They're gardening together. So they really have that strong sense of community within these communities. And a lot of them, too, have where they have multi-generational families living in a home or within the same area. So they really value having family meals together. They get support throughout the community as well. So it's really that social aspect too.
Yeah, another thing kind of linked to that is having a purpose each and every day. So in Okinawa, they call that ikigai, and that's really just having a reason to wake up in the morning. So for different people, that's going to be different. Whether it's your job, if you have a job where you're very passionate about what you do and you love everything that you do each day, and there's a good why and a purpose, perhaps you're helping people in some way, which a lot of jobs are linked to that in some way. So that's a good purpose to have, is to look at your job from that perspective as to how you can serve other people each day through your work. But for each person, that's going to be different. So it's really just finding that purpose. Mm-hmm. I know from a Seinfeld episode, George Costanza, his purpose is to read the sports page every day. So find your purpose.
Yeah, whatever it may be. And then that's actually more powerful than any supplement or any sort of intense workout is going to be, is like keeping it everyday basics.
Yeah, let's jump into some actionable tips for your modern life that you can actually implement, because it can be maybe overwhelming trying to identify where to start. We all have such busy lives in America. We have screens, stress, schedules. There's constant fast food temptations. There's donuts sitting in the break room. So where can we realistically implement some of these things?
Yeah, so within our diet, focusing on eating foods that are mainly plant-based. So whether it be you're adding more vegetables to each of your meals. Also beans, so eating more beans. Aim to eat at least 3 to 4 times a week. So adding that to your meal, eat 3 to 4 times each week. And then stop the demonizing carbs. Carbs are good for us. Like, it's fine to have in moderation. So traditional cultures also make them. You just want to make sure as you're buying them that you're looking for the packages that have the least amount of ingredients. So when you turn the package to the back, see how those noodles were made, how the carb, whatever it is made.
Yeah, and then also ask yourself, are you eating for health, or is it entertainment, or is it stress eating? So you want to make sure that you schedule those meals each day, so that way you're not grazing, overeating, or eating out of stress or entertainment.
Yeah. And then for movement, we want to make sure that whatever it is that we decide we want to do, it's able to be maintained and it's consistent. So we don't need to go to the gym and train super, super hard all the time. Right? You just need to make sure whatever it is, you're able to maintain and have that consistency. So again, aiming for just having 8 to 10K steps per day. So that's that walking around the neighborhood or with a friend going for a walk. You still do want to make it to the gym. So adding in some strength training for 2 to 3 times per week. And then avoid having long periods of where you're sitting down. So if you see yourself at home, maybe you just finished one episode of your favorite show, go ahead and get up and start moving around, because that typically is a longer period of time that you're sitting to watch a movie or show.
Yeah, movement isn't punishment. It's a biological requirement. It feels good. Our bodies were made to move, made to walk. Also, older people, as they get old, if they just become sedentary, don't move, that's when the body typically tends to decline. But if they keep moving, keep working, keep gardening, typically their health stays pretty high up there. So that way they can push into those later years, into their 90s and hopefully 100.
Yeah, and again, doesn't have to be anything major. So even with this next one, stress and social longevity, we know that chronic stress does accelerate our aging. So we want to make sure that we are keeping that stress at bay. And what's powerful here is that the blue zone cultures naturally build in stress reduction throughout their daily life. So maybe it's going and taking a nap in the afternoon. Literally, we need to turn off our brains and have an afternoon rest. There's different faith practices that these areas are practicing, communal meals that they're eating. So again, each meal that they have, they're eating together. And then they move at a slower pace. So just slowing down our everyday life. I know a lot of times we're like, we got to go here. We got to get this done. Let's go here. What are we doing this weekend? Oh, we got to add this to our plate. take a breath. It's okay. We're going to slow down.
Yeah, and maybe you should ask yourself a few questions as well. When was the last time that you actually sat down and ate a meal without your phone? Just had a conversation with the person across from you at the table. So that's super important. And also, when was the last time you had a meal with 3 generations at one table? So that goes back to those communal meals and having family around and just having that real social structure in place.
Yeah. And then the purpose. So making sure, like research has shown this, that consistently having a purpose shows that people with that strong sense of purpose live longer and have lower rates of dementia, as well as lower like chronic diseases like heart disease. So making sure you have and know what your purpose is.
Yeah, your purpose can regulate your behavior, regulate your stress. It gives meaning to any kind of hardships that you experience in life so you can overcome those easier. It's something that we talk about often on this podcast. Your identity really shapes your biology as well.
Yeah. So if you believe that you are building something meaningful, your nervous system will naturally operate differently.
Yeah, so we'll give you a practical reflection exercise, a bit of a challenge for everybody out there. So grab a notebook, ask yourself, who needs me? What am I building? And what would make my 80-year-old self proud?
Remember, longevity isn't just about adding years to your life. It's also about adding life to your years.
All right, and let's go ahead and also bust some myths. There's a lot of myths out there when it comes to health and wellness. So myth 1, that longevity requires expensive supplements. I think most centenarians out there, especially in these blue zones, have never heard of NAD plus or some of these new age supplements that are out there that maybe some of those new gyms and technologies are producing. But also myth 2, we kind of touched on this earlier, you don't need that extreme discipline. Most of these communities just normalize overall healthy behavior, just taking walks each day, riding a bike. I know later we're finally getting some warm weather here in Illinois, so we're gonna go out to a forest preserve and do some walking. We get a couple of benefits there when it comes to not only the walking part and getting the movement in, but also some forest bathing. So you can also focus on nature and get that meditation practice in as well. Also, another myth is genetics are everything. That's another myth buster there. Really, your lifestyle is what is a huge percentage of your lifestyle outcomes, essentially.
So remember, your environment shapes your habits. So where we're living does shape how our habits are formed. Your habits then shape our biology, and our biology shapes ultimately our lifespan.
All right. So in closing, what's that longevity blueprint? Let's recap some of those things. It's not really flashy. It's super simple. Move naturally, eat mostly plants, protect your sleep, build those strong relationships, and then find a purpose to live with.
And maybe the most powerful takeaway is that longevity is not a hack, it's a lifestyle.
All right, and if this episode really resonated with you, don't forget to share it with someone that you want to live a long life with.
The real superpower here is staying healthy long enough to enjoy the people that we love.
This is Superhumanistic, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.